Hello, welcome to the source team of Superdrug. We're here as Google. Very excited to take you through our decoding decisions research, which is all about understanding consumer behaviors and decision-making processes. My name is Gizam. I'm Superdrug client lead at Google UK, and I have my colleague Justine. Justine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm the Strategic Insights Manager at Google.
Today we'll take you through the research and why it's relevant for the source team, but also why it's an important part of the digital fitness program. So very much looking forward to taking you through it. And I'll pass on to Justine.
Cool. So we are presenting Decoding Decisions to you guys today, which is all about decoding the consumer decisions in the consumer journey. And it's brand new research that we launched kind of at the end of last year. It's been really popular. And if you like thinking about the way that people think and consumers make decisions, then I'm hoping you'll also find it really interesting. There's a lot more detail if you want it at this at this Think with Google link, but you'll kind of get the key findings in the presentation today. So basically, when we think about the consumer journey, it's all about understanding what happens between the trigger for a purchase and then the actual purchase. But as today's consumers have more and more information and more choice available to them, there's a kind of a more complex web of touch points. If you think about, you've got search engines, review sites, social media, retailers, in-store, comparison sites online, video sharing, aggregators, etc. So if you were to sketch what this looks like on a piece of paper, you might end up with something like this. But what we kind of wanted to understand is one of the biggest challenges, I guess, for brands is ensuring that those customers, when they're in the messy middle, they're not falling through the gaps and you can actually get them to purchase your brand. So it's a space where you can win or lose your customers, basically, and therefore just deserves a lot more research. What we used to use is the purchase funnel, and this is something that can be quite useful in some instances. But if you have read anything about behavioral science, or if you're interested in behavioral science, or even if you can relate to that kind of spaghetti-like mess you saw at the previous slide, you would know that actually purchase decision-making doesn't follow a linear process like this, and it's actually really complex. It's not always done consciously, and it's subject to a lot of behavioral biases. So that's the bit I find really, really interesting. When we look at our search data, you can see this sheds a little bit of light on consumer decision-making. For example, if we look at the searches for cheap versus the searches that have best in the search, we can see that those searches that have the word cheap have actually gone down, and those searches with the word best when it comes to shopping, so whether that's best performance, best value, best quality, they've actually gone up. And this indicates the way in which the internet and search, when it was young, there was a clear bias towards price comparison. And people were using the internet to find the cheapest. Now the internet has gone from a tool for comparing prices to a tool for comparing everything, and consumers really want the best. So that sheds a little bit of light on it, but what we wanted to do was actually do a lot more research in this space. And so we partnered with the behavioral architects, who are behavioral scientists. They're a research agency and they specialize in decision making. And behavioral scientists have been researching decision making for decades. So to address the challenge of understanding how shoppers make decisions in the messy middle, we wanted to partner with them. I'll go through this really simply, but basically, the first thing that we did is we observed shopping journeys. So we looked at hundreds and hundreds of hours of how shoppers shopped, and we used kind of video and audio recordings of them to get their thoughts. So we got them to talk us through their process, but also see what they were doing. So we could observe how people shopped and how they thought they shopped, and how those things are actually quite different sometimes. Literature review. So we looked over, at literature for the last 50 years that looks at 300 principles, basically. There's more than 300 principles that underpin human behavior, and narrowed that down into the 6 that were most relevant for consumer decision making. And then we did simulated purchases. So we tested a lot of our findings, and I'll take you through that later, but I won't go into too much detail. Here is an example. I'll just show a few snippets of an example of a consumer, a few skincare shoppers, and you'll kind of get the idea of how we tracked consumers as they shopped. This is all online, but it is a really good proxy for showing you how people are making decisions when they are shopping for skincare. So I'll just show you through a few snippets.
I just got in from work and thought I would take a chance at having a look for moisturiser. I am literally scraping the barrel with the tub that I've got, so it's probably time to have a look around. And I'm going to Google Boots, have a quick look. When it comes to kind of moisturisers and stuff, my first go-to is usually Boots, because they stock most of the stuff I go for online. Boots don't do Kiehl's. But I'm going to look at Ole Henderson and some other stuff. So there is nothing necessarily wrong with my skin just now. So I'm pretty happy with the Ole Hendrickson stuff that I'm using. So Ole Henderson, I usually find is pretty good for my skin. Okay, this stuff's new. So I'm going to have a quick look at this to see if it's anything that I would be interested in. I'm not sure, certainly not for £42 at the moment. Now, the stuff I used before was the Transform. Right, so friends have recommended the eye cream there. Okay, so this is £60, which might be a wee bit out my price range for what I'm looking for. Ideally, just looking for the one I usually use, which is this one here. Now, I'm usually a sucker for good packaging and stuff that smells nice, like Glam Glow. However, since I've been using this stuff, I've noticed a massive change in my skin, so I'm always apprehensive of changing stuff when I know things are good for me. Okay, so that's 34 moisturiser and eye cream set. Friends have said the orange one is really good. However, I'm probably just going to get the one I had did before. I'm probably not going to buy tonight, because I do want to have a look around. I remembered ASOS usually has some good stuff on, so I thought I'd have a quick look at their beauty products. Plus they're doing, I get student discount. I have that moisturiser, so I don't really feel the need. It's quite thick. I have this one for after the gym. So I'm really kind of looking for a generally day one during the day. Okay, there's quite a lot of stuff on here that I would like to try, but because my skin is quite good, I'm always apprehensive about changing stuff over. I'm tempted to stick with Ole Henderson. As Boots currently do a student discount, and I get 10% off. So I'm going to do that. So I'm just going to look to see if the gift set is worthwhile. So this set here is quite good because it's £30 and you get 3 things, whereas my moisturiser alone for 50ml is 36, whereas I can get this, which includes the 50ml of the Truth Serum, 35 of the moisturiser, and 7ml of the eye. So I might just get that. So I'm really looking forward to trying the serum. A friend of mine uses it who works at Dior, and he raves about it. So I'm going to apply my wee code to get £3 off it, I think. Yes.
I'm a little bit of a creature of habit, and I tend to stick to the same moisturiser, and I actually absolutely love the Simple range. I've bought it for many years. I've recommended it to other girlfriends, and they've tried it and they've never had a complaint. The thing with the Simple range, it doesn't have any extra colourants, any fragrance, any perfumes. It doesn't have any harshness in, and I actually love the facial wash, the moisturiser, the cleanser, the toner. the shower gel and the soap. So I tend to stick to all the range. I actually saw something that I'd never seen in the Simple range, and I know the Simple range for quite a long time. And they had like a sun protection. This is the Simple range with SPF 30 UVA, UVB range. So that's factor 30. So that's great for my holidays.
I'm going to buy my Nivea Men Moisturizer. I always like having another look around, see what else is available as well. A few different products, but no, I'm going to go with the one that I always go with. So yes, going to add this to my shop.
Face cream. So I know exactly what face cream I want to buy, but I'll just see what's on offer because I do like to see. Me and my husband, weirdly, share face cream. He likes the same one as I do, and I like the one that I like because it's good under makeup. They don't seem to have it, but I know they sell it. Where are you? So, I'm just going to put it in. It's a Simple one. Oh no. So, gel cream. This is not what I want. Normally, I get the oil-free Simple face cream, but they don't seem to have it on the online one, and they have before, so that's really, really annoying. So what I'm going to put in now, because I need oil-free, so I'm going to have to see what alternative I can get. Oil-free face moisturizer. Oh, perfect. On accommodation skin, that's me. So there we go. Plasma moisture hydrate skin without clogging pores. I don't know what any of these are. Okay, I'm happy with that. We'll give it a whirl for £2. It's fine. It'll be worth a try.
So what we wanted to do is untangle this kind of mess that we've seen and come up with a new updated model for decision making. So based on all of our observations of shopping and behavior and the literature review, we've updated our model of consumer decision making. And it's an evolution of models that you may have seen before, but it's got some really important updates that we feel are quite essential to understanding the consumer today. So the first thing that it kind of reminded us was that all decisions are made against a backdrop of exposure. So this isn't an entirely new concept. This would be typically what we would refer to as brand awareness. So making sure that your brand is top of mind and that people are aware of it, but it's actually more than that. So in addition to the TV campaign you might have shown, or a billboard that you drive past on the side of the road, it might be a conversation that you hear in a coffee shop. And it's a really important distinction here, because unlike awareness that sits at the top of the purchase funnel, exposure is always on, it's always changing, it's always influencing decision making right the way through the process. So it's not just a stage in the process, but it's a backdrop to the entire process. At some stage, a purchase is triggered, and at this point, the shoppers move from a passive state into an active state of purchase decision making, and eventually, hopefully, a purchase of your brand. Then this is kind of the really messy bit. So all the activity that happens in between the trigger and the purchase itself. We've taken all this behavior, wherever it happens, whenever it happens, and codified it into one of two mental modes. So we've got exploration and we've got evaluation. So these two kind of tasks can happen simultaneously, or they can happen sequentially. But according to the science and to the behavioral scientists, they are two distinct mental processes with separate reward structures. So exploration mode is a really expansive exercise. This is where we are adding more and more brands to our consideration set. If you think about this, if I think about how I've been shopping recently, I will open up more and more tabs on my computer as I'm searching for a holiday to Greece. I don't know if that will happen, but I am searching, and I'll open up more and more as I find the hotels that I like. And then as I kind of discount a few, I will then delete a few of the tabs. And this is the evaluation mode. So this is more of a reductive exercise. And this is where we're narrowing down our options. But because of the sheer volume of information and choice available to consumers today, because we have all of these online touch points now, and the speed and ease at which we can get this information, we're often encouraged or compelled to spend more time than ever in this kind of loop between exploration and evaluation. So depending on who you are, you may find this really fun. If you're searching for Greek holidays or clothes, it might be quite fun. Mortgages or savings accounts, maybe not so fun. But for marketers, it's not efficient, because we want to kind of help get our consumers to purchase our brand as efficiently and as quickly as possible. We don't want to lose them. So then we get to the role of experience. And experience we won't talk about in detail today, but this happens outside of the messy middle. Once we have purchased the product, our post-purchase experience will then feed back into exposure. So whether we've had a positive or a negative experience with it will then determine if we'll buy this brand again or how frequently we'll buy it again. But this is kind of the new model that we have. We've brought some order to the chaos and come up with this updated model of consumer decision making. And I guess the idea here is that this isn't old. It's something that may have purely happened in store before the internet, but now a lot of these touch points are actually online. Even if the purchase can be offline, a lot of that exploring and evaluating can happen online, and we do see that that's happening online. So we wanted to then codify the behavior. So these are the kind of heuristics that are most applicable when it comes to consumer decision making. So we wanted to understand how shoppers are going to, how they process all of the information and choice as they explore and evaluate. I will go through each of these in a little bit more detail. Category heuristics, we rely on shortcuts or rules of thumb to help us make quick and easy decisions. So these are the semantics or the language. So it might be the words that you use on the packaging of your product, or it may be the language in your ads. But it's kind of the rules and shortcuts that consumers use to make decisions. So for example, if I am buying yogurt and I'm in store, and there's lots and lots of brands in front of me, I'll look for the ones that, for example, say high protein, because I know that protein's an essential nutrient that will kind of keep me full and is good for my health. And I'll look for all of the brands that have high protein on to narrow down my choices. So consumers use a lot of these shortcuts when they are making decisions in the messy middle. Social norms, we adopt the opinions and follow the behaviors of the majority. The internet has essentially digitized word of mouth. So sometimes we can be consciously looking for social proof, and this is often in star ratings and reviews, or unconsciously looking for social proof. And this is you taking the opinion of your friends and family on board when you're making your own consumer decisions. Authority bias, we follow the lead of credible and knowledgeable experts. So this is where awards become really important. Then we've got the power of now. So there's no time like the present. Humans are actually wired to survive in the present. That's why we find it so hard to save money, or why we put off, the new fitness regime that we've promised ourselves we'll do, or we find it hard to stick to diets because we value the present more than the future. Scarcity bias, scarce resources are more desirable, and if anyone has used booking.com, they will understand what this means. If you're anything like me and you are searching for hotels in Greece, for example, once I see a hotel with one room left, I'm like, that's the hotel for me. Or if it's a hotel with no rooms left, suddenly that was the perfect hotel for me, and I'll never be able to find a hotel that's as good as that one. So scarce resources are more desirable for humans as well. And then we've got the power of free. So we all know that free things are attractive, but psychologists actually call them an emotional hot button because of how irrationally attractive they are to human beings. So there's a really nice study that I like to talk about when we talk about the power of free. So they ran this study where they had consumers choosing between two chocolates. So one was a Hershey's Kiss and one was a Lindt truffle. And the Hershey's Kiss was 1 cent and the Lindt truffle was 15 cents. And when we gave that choice to consumers, 73% of consumers chose the Lindt truffle for 15 cents. Then what they did is they reduced the price of each by 1 cent. So the Hershey's Kiss was free and the Lindt truffle was 14 cents. And we saw that 69% of consumers chose the Hershey's Kiss, even though they had just valued the Lindt truffle at 15 times the value of a Hershey's Kiss. But because it was free, suddenly that was a choice that they wanted to make. So again, looks at the way in which free things are immensely attractive. So those are kind of the key biases that we wanted to test, and we wanted to understand what influence they have on consumers when they're making choices. What we did was we did a purchase simulation, and this was online, but I guess it's a proxy for how consumers make decisions in the real world, whether that's in-store or whether it's online. But I think the key thing for you guys to realize is that a lot of this decision-making may be happening online. They may not actually be making the purchase online, but they may go into store because they want to feel the consistency of the products, for example, if it's skincare, or the tone of the makeup, or whatever it may be, or that they might want even more information and want to, you know, speak to someone face-to-face. But a lot of this research is happening before they get into store. What we're using skincare as a category example for you guys, just to make it simple. But what we find, the findings from this study are actually consistent across all categories that we've looked at. And we've looked at about 30 categories now, 1,000 consumers from each, so 31,000 consumers we've kind of tested to get to these findings. So they are very robust. So what we asked consumers in the skincare category, we had 1,000 skincare consumers, and we said, okay, what's your favorite brand and what's your second favorite brand? And then we used that information in the model. I can go to the next slide. Then what happened was we would show, actually I might go back to the first slide. So once the simulation begins, we kind of build out a proposition for each of these brands based on the 6 principles of behavioral science. So what we create is kind of a platform where we can test if these cognitive biases can tempt a shopper away from their favorite brand to their second favorite brand, or what they've told us is the inferior brand. So this is what the simulation looks like. The favorite brand is on the left, second favorite brand's on the right. Here you can see that all the propositions are equal. So we have the same star ratings, same delivery time, same, Cosmopolitan recommends, that's authority bias. So we have the same level of authority bias. And we then see how tweaking some of these biases will pull a consumer from one brand to another. So it's a controlled environment. So for example, one of the options that they might be given, and they're given multiple options of these shopping kind of scenarios, might be this one. And you can see here that actually Garnier has 5 out of 5 stars. It has 24-hour delivery. It's cruelty-free, whereas the Body Shop has SPF 15, so that's the category heuristics. And we tried to understand if we could sway a consumer from one brand to the other. We started with the respondents' top choice of face care brand. So at this point, if a consumer's told you their top choice of face care brand, you kind of have 100% of their stated preference. And this is where all your brand marketing has done a lot of work. So all of the marketing that people have seen on TV or that they've come across when researching online means that they have a favorite brand. What we showed is that even by showing their first choice brand and their second choice brand with everything equal, 31% of consumers actually chose their second choice brand. So just mere exposure is enough to sway people when they're in the messy middle. Just having their second choice brand show up when they're researching and be kind of discovering is enough to switch consumers from their first choice brand to their second choice brand. Then what we wanted to do was we wanted to charge this second choice brand. So we wanted to say it was cruelty free and that it had 24-hour delivery versus 7-day delivery. And what we saw is that charging the second choice brand with these two heuristics was enough to shift 47% of consumers away from their first choice brand to their second choice brand. So again, we've charged the second choice brand. It's not necessarily rational, and they're not necessarily rational reasons for someone to switch, but it gives you an example of how just small things within the purchase journey can impact brand choice. Then what we did is we supercharged the second choice brand. So we gave it 5 out of 5 stars. We said expert reviews recommend, power free, a free face scrub, and the scarcity bias. So we said that the deal was only today, and we could see that 75% of consumers switched to their second choice brand when it was supercharged. So again, this shows how providing the right information at the right time can help consumers make decisions in the messy middle and shift brand preference. Then what we did is we created a fake brand, Macca, and we supercharged this brand. So we charged it with the scarcity bias. We gave it 5 out of 5 stars. We said 24-hour delivery. We threw everything at it to see if anyone would choose it. And we could see that 50% of consumers chose their second choice brand when it was supercharged with all of these elements. So this is a great example of how fluid decision-making can be in the messy middle, and how kind of having the right information at the right time can not only shift brand preferences, but can disrupt it entirely. So how can you guys, I know that you guys are more involved with the store part of the consumer journey, and so I will hand over to Gizem to just give you a few thought starters. I mean, this is more, it's not really, this is what you should be doing based off the back of this research, but I hope it's opened your eyes into the way in which a lot of this decision-making exploration in the messy middle is now online, whether purchasing is offline or online. So I'll hand over to Gizem.
Thank you, Justine. So when we kind of think about the beach audience as an example, how can you kind of engage with the beach audience online to influence offline? And what we know on average is that 73% of customers shop online and in store. So it's very much of an O2O journey, as I'm sure you heard many times being mentioned in the business. And when we kind of think about why it's important to identify these customers, is because actually they are very much, in the next slide, please, the most valuable segment of shoppers. So what we know from research is that online omnichannel customers spend 3 times versus in-store only customers, and 7 times versus online only customers. So it's super, super important to be able to actually find these audiences and even kind of build lookalike models, which is a bit too digital, but there are opportunities to kind of find these audiences and build a model to find more of them, so that you kind of really do reach them. Why is it, it's somewhat actually, when we think about it, it's more difficult to reach these customers as well at the same time, simply because actually there are now multiple touch points. We're always using dual screening as one of many examples of that. But what we know is that more touch points, more online and offline interactions, more devices, and that's kind of influencing the in-store visits as well. That's influenced by digital. How can you, when it comes to our partnership with Superdrug, and when we think about the Google products, without going into too much detail, the digital team very much, we partner with you on, advertising and search, shopping, sometimes display, and even YouTube. These platforms all play different elements within the consumer journey, but very much influencing drivers of the messy middle, helping to drive, kind of close that gap within the purchase funnel and drive in-store as well as online purchases. Big thank you from us. We hope you enjoyed the research and the session. Hopefully it shows you that actually the consumer journeys are not linear, and digital very much influences in-store purchases and drives customers to in-store throughout the year. And hopefully you enjoy the rest of your digital fitness sessions. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to the digital team. We'll be more than happy to answer them. Thank you.